I had a really interesting trip to the dentist this past week. So my dentist retired, the one I've been going to for a few years, and so I had to get a new one. And so I found him on the website, on my insurance website and everything. And so I went to their website just to make sure I had the right contact info. And on their contact us page, there's a YouTube video embedded, and it's a Bill Cosby stand-up skit. It's Bill Cosby's dentist skit, which it's a famous skit. Everyone who loves stand-up comedy has seen this thing, but rapey. Ugh. So I go to the dentist. I'm his last person of the day. Dude turns out to be super cool, and they're still filling out my insurance paperwork because I'm a first-timer. And he and I start talking about college football, and somehow I end up saying something like bad publicity for the league or something. And he goes, "Oh, dude, you want to talk about bad publicity? We used to have a Bill Cosby video on our website, like a YouTube video embedded in our website." And I was like, "Yeah, actually, I wasn't going to say anything, but you still have that. That's still there on your contact page." He goes, "No, bullshit. We took that down like a year ago. What are you talking about?" And so I pull out my phone and I show it to him. I'm like, "Yeah, dude, look, right here. It's next to your contact information." And he just turns white as a sheet. And he just shakes my hand, says, "Appreciate the business, so see you in 6 months." And he walks away. Well, I walk out of the dentist's office and realize, oh shit, I forgot my sunglasses. So I go back into the room to go get my stuff, and I just hear this down the hall. "Samantha! What's the password to the website?" "No, you never took down that Bill Cosby thing." "Dentist 123. Okay. When we talk about a rapist on our website, that becomes your priority. That's what you do before anything else, okay?" "And I'm changing the password."
Hello everybody and welcome to Riding the Pine, the only show on the internet that talks about sports with their dicks out, but they're not out for Harambe. They're out for Colin Kaepernick's big fucking afro. Holy shit, did you see the afro? Did you guys see the afro? I have John and Lou with me, by the way. I'm wondering if they've seen the afro.
I saw the afro.
Obviously, Colin Kaepernick will not stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And regardless of how you feel about that, that's fine. Just imagine it as him practicing as he watches Blaine Gabbert play. So
he's going to be on the bench a lot this season, so it's just kind of, he's just getting ahead of the curve, people.
It's really it's more like calisthenics. Of course, he's just stretching his gluteus maximi.
I honestly thought that he was going to be auditioning for Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Busy Bone. He does kind of look like a... We're talking about the NFC and AFC Easts, which are the dumpster fires of the NFL, according to Lou, and literally everyone else. Maybe the AFC South and the NFC East. Maybe those are more dumpster fiery. Because you're looking at it, best case scenario, 10-win team wins that division. Anyways, we're gonna start in the AFC. That's really all we have, and then Lou's gonna finish it off with a Mozgov, a Mo Money Mo Mozgov that apparently he worked for 7 hours on. So if you don't listen to that, Lou will literally kill himself. So please stick around. We love our Lewis.
And you know how I want my funeral to go. You will all go with me. So
yeah, Lou's funeral involves lighting the funeral home on fire. So don't go to his funeral.
Don't come. Send flowers. Do not come to my funeral.
In lieu of flowers.
Oh,
no,
that's not spelled the same
okay.
way.
So boys, do we want to talk about the AFC East, where we have one good team, or the NFC East, where we have 0 good teams?
0 good teams. There's 0.
0 good teams.
Montana says talk 0 good teams first. This is a
We've gone the AFC then NFC route. We may as well continue that just for posterity.
All right, let's go for AFC first then.
Goddamn.
So
Rain
AFC, the New England Patriots, obviously, of the 8 teams we're going to talk about today, are probably the one team that have genuine Super Bowl hopes every single year. However, they are starting the year the first 4 games without one Thomas J. Brady. I don't know if that's his middle name, if it's a J.
Didn't we decide at
or
one
if he's
point it
even-
was Bartholomew or some shit like that?
Sure, I don't know, but his diet, maybe he'll be extra spongy by game number 5, and he won't get broken, and they'll ride Jimmy Garoppolo and Tom Brady's spongy dad bod to the Super Bowl. But they're still the Patriots. It's like you always look at the Patriots and you look at their roster, and besides Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, I'm never excited about a single player. Isn't that wild? It's literally 2 people on it, and they play the same side of the ball. It's not like you have one offensive and one defensive superstar that they build around on both sides. I mean, they have a solid defense. They have Chandler Jones. Well, no, they don't have Chandler Jones. They don't have him anymore. He left, but they have Rob Ninkovich.
Which, by the way, Rob Ninkovich, breaking news earlier today, we're recording this on Friday, Rob Ninkovich has been suspended for failure of the wellness policy for the first 4 games of the year.
What's the wellness policy, Lou?
The don't drugs and stuffs. don't do drugs and bads. The banned substance. Yeah, don't drugs and
drug him. Well, luckily Chris Long is his backup, so he'll be fine. Chris Long's a good player. But they also have Jabal Sheard, who I actually really, really like. They have some good linebackers. They have decent secondary, but they don't like Deion Lewis is gone, right?
Deion Lewis is probably he's been assigned to the PUP list. He's not going to play in the first 6 games.
At least this first 6 games. He's just an injury-ridden guy. I mean, they have like 470 running backs on the team at any given day. I assume James White and LeGarrette Blount are going to head that 2-headed beast.
Probably James White first and second down. LeGarrette Blount is your guy who's in on passing situations because he's so good out of the backfield catching. But Jake, you said they have 2 guys. Really, I mean, the MVP of that team, the third person, I mean, whether you hate him or not, Bill Belichick is the greatest coach in the history of the game. I don't think we can deny it anymore.
And the thing is,
you've almost got a Belichick thing going on with you right now. You've got kind of like a short sweat. You've got a gray sweatshirt on. You've kind of got that going on.
Oh, personally, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, except I have the sleeves I have not cut off yet.
Oh, they're rolled up.
And also, I do not have a surly demeanor. Also, my Lions have Bob Quinn, who comes from the Patriots, and it looks like the philosophy is carried through. This is the first year that I've looked at the cuts after the 4th preseason game and thought, man, we're going to have to cut good players. Ever as a Lions fan that I can remember. Ever. It's so weird to me.
It's an interesting predicament to be in, definitely.
It's a fucking fantastic... Like, we have like...
John's Dolphins and my Texans would not know anything about that this year.
Don't have that. We don't have that predicament.
We have 6 viable defensive tackles right now with a possible 7th. It's crazy. Anyways... Bill Belichick is a master at plug and play players. He'll pick players based on a specific skill set to do a specific thing on a specific play against a specific offense, and he just has those guys. And the problem is, fantasy wise, you can only count on Rob and Tom really to do anything week in, week out. Other than that, his game plan changed. He that one guy, what was his name? You had him on your team last year, the running back that ran for like 300 yards and 5 touchdowns in one game, and he was benched for the rest of the year.
Well,
Gray.
That was whatever the fuck. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
His last name was Gray.
Yeah.
But he just blew up, and everyone's like, oh, pick him up. And he got picked up in like every fantasy league, and then he never played another down.
Yeah, because he showed up 15 minutes late to practice, and Bill Belichick benched
That's
him.
right. That's right.
Right.
You know, and here's the thing, though. We're looking at the Patriots, and I think, obviously, they're the heavy favorites going in, and that shows you how much of a dumpster fire the AFC East is right now, when they're still the heavy favorites going into the season, and they're going to be without Tom Brady. They're going to be without the guy who makes that team go for the first 4 games. And, guys... The word we're hearing on Jimmy Garoppolo so far is not positive. So far in this preseason, he's out there throwing for 57, 181, and 168 yards. He's thrown 1 touchdown, no interceptions.
What are his completion percentage numbers? That's the real metric.
60%, 61%.
That's low end.
That's and you would expect that to be higher because in the preseason you're going to be running higher completion percentage. You're going to be running higher percentage plays than you will. You're not going to be chucking it down deep. You're not going to be throwing bombs.
Sure.
So you're going to be throwing these simpler routes. I'm not excited about them for the first 4 weeks of the season. I'm not saying they're going to be 0-4 because they have to play the Dolphins. Sorry, John. But
don't worry. When it's my turn, I'm going there. So
1-3 playing the Texans, Bills, and Cardinals, and then the Dolphins. Yeah, I see them being 1-3 at week 4. At week 5.
The Texans. I think they can beat the Texans because Bork Laser is not.
Bork Laser played fantastic against the Cardinals this past week.
In the preseason, again, I don't really. I take no stock in that. The year that the Lions went 0-16, they went undefeated in the preseason, smashing people in the preseason, and it's just not something I look at. What I do look at is who plays on what teams. So who's playing with the first team, second team, third team? That'll give you a more accurate metric. Now, you could look for some standout guys like deep roster guys that are making big plays. That's fine. But as far as Jimmy Garoppolo is concerned, they're just running basic stuff right now to try to get rapport. They're not going to run those solid timing routes. Like Edelman's not going over the middle to catch a fucking pass. These games don't count. They're not putting their bodies on the line.
Right.
You see this the other day, the Tampa Bay preseason game. Jameis Winston throws a slant, I think, to Mike Evans, and Evans just kind of lets it go, and then it gets picked off. And that's okay because he's not laying out for it. Right. But that's a ball he's definitely catching in the regular season, or at least making a solid effort.
I was about to say, it probably bounces off of his hands in the regular season, but at least he makes contact. Something else to consider with the Pats, though. Last year, Brady was sacked 38 times. That, as far as how that stacks up to the rest of the NFL, that was middle of the road. But that's the second most he's been sacked in his career. Why? Right. Because they were the 5th most passing team. They had the most attempts last year, or the 5th most attempts in the league, and they ranked 30th in overall rushing offense. This team ran entirely through Tom Brady. He is the catalyst.
I'm used to
that team.
Those kind of stat lines as a Lions fan.
He is the catalyst of this team, and I just think that with Garoppolo in there, what we've seen so far, I don't think that Garoppolo they're going to give up 21 points a game. Their defense last year gave up 20.8 points a game. I don't see Garoppolo scoring 21 or 22 points a game. I just don't see it.
But they have a man named Berkavius Mingo on their team. How could they possibly give up that many points?
Another person that they have on their team is somebody we've already spoken of, and that's Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick has figured out a way to make his offense plug and play like a college offense, and it boggles my mind. Because I can't think of another coach in NFL history that has this level of plug and play capability out of their offense.
Yeah.
I mean, it does not matter who's standing on that line. They're going to win games. And for that reason alone, I think all they have to do is go 2-2 through the first 4 games.
I'd say so. Well, okay, so last year they went 12-4 with Tom Brady for 16 games.
Right.
So if they go 2-2, that's a 10-6 season, assuming Brady loses 4 games himself.
I'm thinking it's a 12-4 season if they go 2-2.
Same.
Yeah.
They're just so good. And by the way, I think the Jets, I think they're the only real worry here. I know that you're pretty high on the Bills comparatively, but the Jets did improve, at least with assuming Matt Forte stays healthy. He's a better player than Chris Ivory is definitely.
True, and I'll tell you, and we'll get more into it as we go to the other teams. Or my earlier assumptions in our discussions in the past were that Ryan Fitzpatrick was not part of the team yet. They were still disputing that. Now that they've signed that contract and he is the starting quarterback for that team, I actually
you shifting a little bit.
Things shift, and we'll get into it as we get there.
Sure. Now, I usually had been talking about the draft picks, but I look at the Patriots draft, and it's another one of those plug-and-play situations where I only recognized the name Cyrus Jones, who was his cornerback in the second round, the first pick of the draft. And I guess Jacoby Brissett, but only because we made a joke about the draft when we first started this show. Other than that, I don't notice any names that jump out to me, and but it looks like it's always people with a certain skill that's going to be able to do, just things that he needs done, and it just happens. It's such a well-run organization. I can never count them out, and I can never consider them not the favorites of the AFC East as long as Belichick and Tom are there. And frankly, if they get another quarterback before, 2 years before Brady goes out, that's fine. Assuming Garoppolo's not the guy, which he may be.
Yeah, I don't think that anybody else is going to turn into the greatest quarterback to ever play football the way that Tom Brady did under Belichick. But I really do think that Belichick is still going to be able to put... I mean, when Brady went down in Game 1 a few years ago because of his knee, they still went 11-5 with Matt Castle.
Matt fucking Castle.
Well, they still got a first round bye with Matt Castle.
Think about that now. So think about that. Okay. So who would you say Tom Brady's biggest superstar has been for the entire time he's played football?
Randy Moss.
He had him for one season through
50 touchdowns.
59 touchdowns, was it?
It was something crazy.
He had him for 3 seasons.
He had him for
but it was one big season.
Yeah, the one big season
because they're
is the
Randy
one.
Moss
But I
started
was
aging.
getting ready to say those were much better Patriot teams. That 2008 Patriots team,
They had superstar on
was a
defense.
shitload more star-studded. That was at the end. That's when Willie McGinnis was getting ready to leave. That's when Vrabel
Rodney
was getting ready to leave.
Harrison, Vrabel. Well, you also had Richard Seymour, Vince Wilfork, guys like that, where you had
Wilfork
legit
was still at the beginning
defenses.
of his career. That's when McGinnis and those guys were getting ready to leave and go off to Cleveland and Oakland, etc. Vrabel went off to the Chiefs. Which, by the way, that's another thing. Humor me on this for a second. When is the rest of the NFL going to wise up to the fact that they're not better than Bill Belichick? Because all of you see it every time. Bill Belichick doesn't hold on to guys once they're not valuable anymore. As soon as Willie McGinnis wasn't producing for him at the same level, let him go. Hey, Browns went off and gave him stupid money. Richard Seymour did the same thing with the Raiders, and Vrabel did it with the Chiefs. We're now facing it. The most recent example is us here in Houston. We're paying Vince Wilfork. It would be nice to get double-digit tackles out of him. That would be nice in a season to get to 10 tackles. That'd be great. I mean, I guess I'm okay with the 7 tackles you gave us last year. But
how many games did he play last year?
16.
He got 7 tackles in 16
7
games.
solo tackles.
I didn't know, because he's a big body.
Yeah, and I understand the value that he brings of stopping guys in the running game and filling a hole.
Also, it's to be fair, it is a 3-4 defense, and he's never been a leader on as far as tackling is concerned. He's always been more of a let me get 2 or 3 guys and let you guys go through the gaps and do it. However, clearly 7 tackles is not doing the job.
Yeah, 7 tackles, no sacks. It is statistically the worst year of his career.
I could approach 7 tackles if I played every snap of every NFL game.
Of all 14 NFL games that are going on every week. If
you
somehow
every
were on the
day.
field for all of them,
I could approach 7 tackles.
7 wide receivers would eventually trip after you touched them.
Right, yeah.
So,
Solos, though. Solos. I could get there.
So I looked up the number. It was 50 touchdowns that season.
And craziness.
So the insane thing about that is, so he gets the superstar for a couple of seasons. He's still producing the same number of wins per season with people that we didn't hear of until he started throwing the ball to them.
But it's really just Gronk, and he is not very healthy all the time.
Right. So he's throwing to guys that you're like, who is this guy? Middle who? Where? And the insane thing is that it's as much Tom Brady's skill as it is Bill Belichick's coaching ability and getting the right people around him. And for that reason, I really feel like all Jimmy Garoppolo has to do is not lose 2 games. He doesn't have to win a game. He just has to not lose 2.
So what are you guys predicting week 5? Week 4 is over with. What are you predicting that they're going to be? I'm saying 1-3. right now.
I'm saying 2-2 because I'm not high on the Texans and certainly not the Dolphins. The other two games are going to be tough as fuck. I don't think they could beat. They're playing the Cardinals and
they can't
Buffalo.
score enough to keep without Tom Brady. They can't score enough to keep up with Carson Palmer.
I agree with that.
I'd be surprised. I'd be so very surprised if Arizona loses that game. And Buffalo's going to be a really tough matchup. They could beat all those teams. I think 2-2 is what you're hoping for.
Yeah. I'm thinking 2-2 as well because, like I said, I think he just needs to not lose them two games. But I don't think it matters because Week 5, Tom Brady comes back and throws 7 touchdowns because he's so pissed off. He's so mad about having to sit these 4 games.
See how much he,
John. That's what I was gonna say. Is if you're a fantasy owner, if you somehow wind up with Tom Brady after your draft this weekend, you need to be praying that they go 0-4 so that Tom Brady will come out like fucking Rambo in Week 5 and just murder. I have no idea. Who do they play in Week 5? Is it the Chiefs?
That was actually what I was just going to say is I think, don't they play Carolina in Week 5?
Oh, yeah. Don't start Tom Brady against Carolina. Just kidding. Always start Tom Brady.
Tom Brady is right. I don't remember who it is. Now we gotta look at.
Come out. Oh God. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, they play the Browns in Week 5. Oh, no! Oh, my God!
Oh,
In
Cleveland.
Oh.
Is LeBron available
Oh, my God.
in the offseason?
I think it's safe to say that Week 5 of the NFL, we're all Browns fans because we feel for you.
Tom Brady is going to murder, like, 37 children in Cleveland.
Dude, Johnny Manziel is going to commit suicide at halftime, and it's going to be the show that they came for.
Man.
Anyways, I think we said all we could say about the New England Patriots. They're amazing. They're always amazing, and there's no one on the team that you like. Can you name 3 players that are on the offense that aren't Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, or LeGarrette Blount or James White?
I was about to say, I can name all their running backs.
Right.
Is Dobson the wide receiver?
Aaron Dobson is up for cuts.
We'll cuts. See. Oh, that's a bummer. I was rooting for him last year.
So there's
Isn't
Julian Edelman.
Keyshawn Johnson still there?
No. Danny Amendola and Julian Edelman were the ones I knew. I knew Sebastian Vollmer, but I'm looking at it. I don't know if I could have grabbed that out of my head. I'm looking at this. I know they have Martellus Bennett. Do you know who their
that's right.
third
Martellus
tight
Bennett
end
is there now. I totally forgot.
Do you know who their third tight end is?
Is it Martellus Bennett?
No, he's their second. He started last year. It's Clay Harbor.
Ugh.
Clay Harbor, right? Like, these are I don't know. It's just crazy.
He's a guy who you always see in Madden whenever you start a new season at the top of the list, like, oh, hey, Greg Olsen went down. Agent. Who do I need to go grab? Yeah, exactly.
It's Clay Harbor. Yeah,
I feel like sticking Julian Edelman and Danny Amendola on the field at the same time, like, you run the risk of creating a black hole for injuries.
Maybe they cancel each other out.
It must be.
Yeah. Anyways, on to New York and the Jets. Wait, Jets. Jets. Who's excited? Are you guys excited?
I'm a little more excited now that Ryan Fitzpatrick is back. And by excited, I mean now I think the Jets are going to beat the Dolphins both times they play them.
They drafted Christian Hackenberg, though.
Christian Hackenberg had the single worst stat line in the history of the NFL. Granted, it was...
I believe he's being cut.
Yeah,
they
should
is. Cut Geno.
And in Houston, we were all terrified that Christian Hackenberg was going to be our... And you guys know I have just completely railed on this guy for the last 2 years. He's great his freshman season with Bill O'Brien. O'Brien goes away, and the guy turns into absolute dog shit. That, and he was throwing the ball to Allen Robinson, now star on the Jaguars. Hackenberg is garbage. I don't know how you can do this. How do you complete 11 passes for 35 yards? How do you do that? That's not a thing. The refs won't let you do that. It's not allowed.
That's only what?
That's
3.07 yards per pass or something crazy. So Bryce Petty actually, because they just drafted Christian Hackenberg, they have him for 4 years on the cheap because he was a second round pick. They could get rid of Bryce Petty, is what I'm hearing, and then a lot of people are going to go after Bryce Petty, especially the Vikings.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So
I've heard Mike Glennon's name with the Vikings.
yeah, I've heard Geno Smith too, which sounds terrible. Mark Sanchez in Denver could be a possible landing spot.
I really thought they were going to go after AJ McCarron, backup, Alabama star.
But that's the thing with AJ McCarron is you got to trade.
You got to give some stuff. You got to give some pieces
right.
up for sure to get him.
So I would rather stash my pick and get someone that maybe we can groom under Teddy just in case the knee doesn't come back.
Right.
And someone with a little. So Bryce Petty, I think, is probably your best bet here because he's not super old. How old is he?
Bryce Petty. He's only like 24, 25 years old.
25. Yeah, and he played really well this offseason. So if they cut him, I would go get him. But whatever. But they also have Matt Forte this year. Okay, the big question is. So I know this sounds crazy. Is Matt Forte less valuable fantasy-wise this year than he was last year? And it sounds crazy because Jay Cutler was his quarterback, and the Bears only had 2 offensive options. In my head, it's like, oh yeah, Matt Forte is in a better situation. But when I think about it, Brandon Marshall, Eric Decker, those guys are taking up a lot of touches now. Does Matt Forte... Is he going to have the bell cow situation that Chris Ivory had? Also, they have Bilal Powell, who ended up getting injured last season, but he was the pass catcher out of the backfield. Is Matt Forte stunted now? Are we still valuing him highly in fantasy?
I think we're going to see Powell take over that job by week 6. I mean, I don't think Matt Forte is going to be able to is going to be the bell cow for him, like you said. I think he's going to be more in an Arian Foster role. I think he's going to be it's going to be one of those two-headed monster type situations. It's going to be, it's going to be? It's going to be what we're going to see in Tennessee this year with DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry. Matt Forte, well, hey, if he's out there for more than 8 games this year, then absolutely he's going to be an improvement as to what he was last year. He's at least going to have more opportunities. But we saw that team last year. That was a throwing first team last year with Fitzpatrick. He had the year of his career. Brandon Marshall and him were one of the hottest duos in the NFL. I don't think that he's a feasible. There's a lot of guys I'm taking before I'm taking Matt Forte. I'll put it that way.
Well, I mean, when I look at it, I'm with you, but then I kind of look at the stats, and I'm looking at this. The dude caught 200 and 20 passes over the last 3 seasons.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying last year. I was like.
No, 44 last year, 102 the year before, 74 the year before that. And last year, his touches actually went down significantly. He only missed 3 games, but he caught, 60 fewer balls almost, 58 fewer balls. And he ran the ball 218 times instead of 266. But his average actually went up as far as per rush. It went up by 0.2 yards. It's 4.1 last year. He's only 30. And if it was another player, that kind of signals the death toll. But he's been a very consistent player. He's been relatively healthy. He's never had a major injury. He's missed, a handful of games, not even half a whole season. So the Arian Foster comparison, while as far as his role is apt, it's certainly not due to durability. The dude's never really gone down.
No, but also Ryan Fitzpatrick is a Brett Favre guy. He's going to try and thread that needle and make stupid passes he shouldn't. He's not now if he was on a team like, say he was on the Chiefs with like Alex Smith, he had a captain check down who was playing with him. Yeah. Oh hell yeah, he's a 3rd round pick, no problem. Ryan Fitzpatrick is not a captain check down.
Ryan Fitzpatrick is a more efficient quarterback than Jay Cutler, though.
Oh, certainly.
Jay Cutler does the same thing. He's a gunslinger, throws weird, and he's always trying to fit it in like Brett Favre, but without all the skills.
Right, but my point is that Fitzpatrick isn't looking for that check down. He's not looking for that safety valve the way that an Alex Smith would, the way that Matt Schaub did, the way that Brian Hoyer did. He's not one of those guys.
No, when Ryan Fitzpatrick has an issue with not being able to see the field, he usually looks long. And that's why I think and so Brandon Marshall becomes his target more often than not. Eric Decker maybe over the middle every once in a while. But I think Matt Forte's touches are going to go way down because Chris Ivory is still on the team, right?
No, Chris Ivory is not on the team.
No, he got cut. That's right.
No, Chris Ivory's in Jacksonville.
It's Powell.
Powell is still on the team. But by the way, Powell only played 11 games last year, only started 2, because, of course, Ivory got the starting gig. Powell had 47 receptions last season. Matt Forte had 44. So telling me that he doesn't check down to his running back, if that's a full season with a full starter, that's upwards of 70 running back catches out of the backfield. That tells me he's willing to check down if he has a receiving back. I'm not saying that Matt Forte is going to do that. I think Bilal Powell will siphon a lot of that action, and it could work out to where they each have 35 catches or, whatever the situation may be. And they will spell Forte a little bit to try to keep him healthy because he is their runner between the tackles for sure. But I think you could look probably to last year, although over 16 games, not 13. He'll probably have similar stats. I think he'll still have at least 1,100 all-purpose yards.
So I want to apologize. I said Powell before, or I said Chris Ivory before, and I really meant to be talking about Powell. And what I wanted to say about that is, my concern with having Powell and Forte on the same team is Powell feels like a slightly larger Darren Sproles to me, and if you put two guys in the backfield like that, it almost feels like their running styles are going to counter each other more than they're going to help. Especially if you have them.
Certainly they don't do a thunder lightning, if that's what you mean. They certainly are both kind of like thundery lightning.
Right.
They're both kind of middle. So yeah, I get you. Powell also has a good per carry average. It was 4.5 last year before he went down on 70 attempts, so it was a good sample size.
I think if Powell takes the bulk of the snaps early, he'll end up taking it over, because the only other thing they would need for a running back in that style would be a third down back, and I don't think you're going to get third down running out of Forte at all.
Yeah, maybe not. He's been a 3-down back his entire career, so we'll see. And I think we think he's super old just because he's been on the Bears forever, it seems, and he's bald. But he's only 30. Like, that's only 2 years older than me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And it's 8 years younger than me. No,
right.
It's maybe I have this block in my head for Matt Forte because I'm just so used to seeing him catching the ball every time I see a highlight of his that I don't believe his ability to be a power runner.
I mean, you say that, and he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,000-yard rushing seasons.
All right.
And the other and the years he didn't, 929, 997. By the way, he had 997 yards. It was his best per carry average of his career, 4.9, and he only played 12 games. And last year he played 13
yards
games.
Per carry is the best of his career.
4.9, yeah.
Huh.
On the Bears. Bears from 2008. He started in 2008 from the Bears.
I'll eat my words.
They're not good after that. He's a good running back. Believe me,
words.
He's in our division.
Like, I'm just saying, I don't know. I don't know if he's going. I don't think he's going in the first round in a league like ours with keepers.
Oh God,
no! He's not going in the second round.
I'm saying that I would definitely consider him if the value is correct. And like, I'm not reaching for Matt Forte, but if Matt Forte's there, and the other guys I'm looking at are people like T.J. Yeldon, Melvin Gordon, I'm taking a Matt Forte.
Solid flex guy. Solid flex dude.
Sure, I think he could definitely fill in for you. And if you have, he has RB1 upside any week, just because he's got a nose for the end zone. He's never had double-digit touchdowns in any one category, but he's had several seasons where he's had plenty of touchdowns in double digits. So, total. So, it's a toss-up. He's getting older. We'll see what happens.
But we're not considering these guys a threat to the Patriots' crown yet. Not even close.
No. We are considering them a threat any given week to any team, though. They are a good team.
Defense
have
was
a good
insane
defense.
last year.
Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker are 1 year older. I got to imagine Brandon Marshall eventually is just going to stop being amazing. He's 32, but if you look at, say, the best wide receivers of all time and their production, a lot of it happens after their 29th birthday. And it's like a savvy thing, I think. Like, look at Anquan Bolden. He's, 36, 37? And he's just a gamer. He just goes out. And last year, Brandon Marshall had 1,502 yards on 109 receptions. The man just plays football. So if you still want, and he had 14 touchdowns, best of his career, I imagine he'll be closer to 8 or 9 touchdowns this year, just by the nature of how touchdowns work. It's not you can't teach You can't make someone score touchdowns. It's just a try thing. And they have another weapon on offense now, so I imagine his looks in the end zone will be a few less. But I still think he's got a wide receiver 1 written all over him. I think Eric Decker is a decent flex for sure. In our league, he's a wide receiver 3.
Yeah,
so,
for sure. Yeah,
because we have 3 wide receivers. So, is there anything else we want to talk about on the Jets before we move on to the Buffalo Bills, where you hail from, John?
Very close. Yep, 60 miles away. And man, did I hate that fucking team growing up.
Tell the people why.
Well, there's a few reasons. Obviously, I was a Dolphins fan, so I grew up watching football during the Jim Kelly versus Dan Marino saga, which was absolutely amazing football to watch. But they kept going to the Super Bowl while the greatest quarterback to ever play the game only went once and lost. So I got to watch, but it was funny because they always used to put these stupid-ass songs out every year about how Buffalo was so amazing for having gone to 4 straight Super Bowls. But they lost all 4 of them. I don't know why Buffalo
Wait,
tends
that's a bragging point in Buffalo? Like, they actually... Like, I would think they would try to, like, gloss over that. Sort of like history class, 1942 to 1946 in Germany. Like, they do not teach those years. I would think that y'all would not teach 88 through 92 in Buffalo.
Only team to go 4 times in a row, so that's obviously a big deal. And Jim Kelly could probably run for president of the universe, and he'd win in Buffalo. So
that's funny. I mean, they did have a really, really good draft, I think. Shaq Lawson, Reggie Ragland, who I thought was the best middle linebacker, and I really wanted him.
Is Tyrod Taylor the guy there? You know, because him. I mean, he
they did draft Cardale Jones. Draft Cardale Jones.
That's what I'm looking at. I mean, is Rex Ryan confident in him? Because we all thought EJ. I mean, they reached for EJ Manuel for sure, and he has just turned out to be an absolute dumpster fire for them.
They should cut EJ Manuel.
He doesn't need to be on a team.
No, he's awful. He's easily the worst quarterback I've seen in a long time.
He's not good.
Easily.
I mean, he's
I'm super. As a pseudo Bills fan, because that's as far as I can take it right now as my transition occurs, I am very excited about Rex Ryan and Tyrod Taylor together. I think that Tyrod Taylor is the quarterback Rex Ryan was hoping Geno Smith would be.
You mean EJ Manuel?
No.
Which, by the way, I don't blame you.
Geno Smith when he was in New York.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, that makes sense, too.
John just meta as fuck on us with his history.
Right. Well, I'm looking at the stats, and he's a decent quarterback. I mean, he threw for 3,000 yards. But let's be real. Every quarterback can throw for 3,000 yards nowadays, unless your name's Teddy Bridgewater. And
or Tony Romo.
63 point. Well, he could throw for 5,000 if he was not broken. Fucking half.
I meant because he was broken. I'm sorry.
Well, I just don't think Teddy Bridgewater has the physical capabilities to throw 3,000.
Oh, you're saying even if
are
he's
too
healthy?
Skinny.
I thought you. I'm sorry. I thought you were making a joke
skinny.
because he was hurt. You're saying healthy he can't throw 3,000.
Healthy. If you get 2,500 yards from Teddy, you're rolling in happiness. 63.7% from Tyrod here. 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He takes care of the ball all right. He lost 1 fumble.
He's going to get you some yards on the ground, sort of like Cam Newton. I mean, he's going to get those rushing yards.
568 rushing yards. So, I mean, fantasy-wise, he's a dream because he doesn't turn the ball over a ton.
He's a less douchey Russell Wilson.
Right. Yeah, well, Russell Wilson's better. And I hate that.
But
again,
you lose points for him
I hate
being
it.
Such a douche.
He'd lose. Well, human points, I don't even count. Like, he could literally walk into a resurrected Auschwitz, and I wouldn't feel bad. I'm just throwing that out there. So, Tyrod.
Really
I don't know.
This episode.
Yeah, fuck you, Germany. I don't know if you don't like real sports anyway. What do they even have over there?
Well, they play
like
soccer.
Lederhosen toss, or the warm beer chug.
I like the
oven games. It's a cook-off, John. Get your mind out of Auschwitz. They just call them the oven games. He had a really good quarterback rating every once in a while, though,
that.
or something. Wow. He had a quarterback rating of 99.4. That's decent. I don't know. I don't know if he's the guy, but he had.
Well, to give you an idea, 99.4 was better than Tom Brady last year.
Yes, but that's
you're right. But is he going to win you a game? I don't think Tyrod Taylor is the option for the future. This year, though, I mean, if you're in a PPR league and you're going heavy on your wide receivers and your running backs first, if you're going after that and you're saving it, I think Tyrod Taylor's a guy you can grab in the 4th round. I mean, I think he's still going to be there.
He's good for 600 yards
because
on the ground.
You're going to have your Carson Palmers. You're going to have your Carson Palmers and your Ben Roethlisbergers and those kind of guys are going to go first. I think that he's a steal in the 4th round if you've already got your wide receiver and running back number 1 and then one of those number 2. I think he's a steal in the 4th.
4th is a little high in a standard league.
No, in a PPR league. I'm saying in a PPR league.
Well, maybe I guess again that the rounds thing. It depends on the runs that happened in the draft.
Right.
That just happened naturally. But like I might spend a 4th round pick on a top tier tight end that's not Rob Gronkowski because he's going in the 1st. But anyways, as far as like real life, he's decent. He's only 27. I think he's got a few more years in him where he's good. He's one bad knee injury away from being mediocre though, which is what RG3 went through. So we'll see how that goes this year for him. Is there anyone else besides Sammy Watkins on this team worth drafting? And I mean, besides him and LaShawn McCoy.
Well, and depending on what happens with LaShawn McCoy, Carlos Dansbury might come in there and do something. He made a little bit of noise.
Carlos Williams?
Carlos Williams. Did I say Dansbury?
No, Carlos Williams has been released.
Right, because
okay.
he had concussion issues, and then he's just shit now, apparently.
But
they have a good defense, but yeah, I don't know. Sammy Watkins is the guy. Robert Woods is their second receiver. Charles Clay is tight end. So
I think Charles Clay is a draftable tight end. But he's going to be middle of the road. There's 6 or 7 guys you're going to take before.
He's in the tier number 2 where it really doesn't matter who you have.
Right.
You can kind of do matchup based, and you can pick up and drop a lot of guys.
You're going to be interchangeable throughout the year based on matchups.
He is definitely used a lot in that offense though, so it's not the worst. And if LaShawn McCoy goes down, I think his value goes up because they're going to have to dink and dunk to move the ball because Reggie Bush is shit. So LaShawn McCoy, I'm never confident that he's going to stay on the field, I guess. I don't know why. He hasn't been historically banged up. It just seems like, I don't know, last year he just always had like a foot or a hamstring or an ankle, and like he still produced over 1,000 all-purpose yards. He's 2 years younger, and he's sort of like Matt Forte. So I would not be surprised if he comes back this year and rushes for over 1,000 yards. So take that as you will, because it was his first year since 2012 where he didn't play every game. Yeah.
So I think that Rex Ryan got the quarterback that he's wanted since he was in New York. I think Buffalo has a legitimate shot of being one of the wild card teams coming out of the AFC.
I don't know if they're better than the Jets. The Jets-Bills standings rivalry is going to be very interesting.
It will. You're absolutely right. Because I think they look very similar as a team. As teams, they look kind of similar.
Now, are you guys assuming that the Patriots are going to win? Are you guys assuming the Patriots are going to win 11 games and they're just going to run away with the division?
Oh, of course.
I'm thinking between 12 and 10 wins for the New England Patriots.
See, because I've got the Patriots at 10 wins.
If it's 10 wins, that means Buffalo steals one, and probably New York steals one.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. We'll see. It's just you can't win in Foxborough. So like that's 7 or 8 wins guaranteed for the New England Patriots, and they always play well in conference. So I don't know. I guess we can move on to Miami, where people are keeping it. What's that Will Smith song? Jiggy with it. People keeping it jiggy with it. And also they do mega bong rips. Laramie Tunsil. Gotta love it. They also got Xavier Howard, Kenyon Drake, a bunch of other people. It was a decent draft. I think Laramie Tunsil's the best steal of the draft still. And the Miami Dolphins are a shit show. And I don't know why. Because when you look at the team, you go, oh, they have Cameron Wake, Mario Williams, Ndamukong Suh, Earl Mitchell, Kiko Alonso, Jelani Jenkins, Byron Maxwell, Rashad Jones. I mean, they have an amazing defense on paper. And then when you look at the offense, Tannehill, who's a decent but not perfect
He's a
quarterback.
serviceable
and actually,
game manager is what he is.
Right. And Jay Ajayi, by the way, is the number 1 running back on the depth chart today.
Yeah.
Arian Foster, of course, is there, so they have big names. You have people like Mike Pouncey, Devontae Parker, Jarvis Landry, Kenny Stills, Jordan Cameron, for fuck's sake. You have all these names that should work, and it just isn't working. And I don't know why.
Well, I think the biggest, Jake, you sat there and you talked about their draft and you talked about Tunsil, and I mean, I'm going to give the floor over to John after this so he can espouse on this with it being his team. The best move they made all year was getting rid of Joe Philbin. That's the best move that the team made, was getting rid of him and bringing in Adam Gase. Everybody complained about how Lamar Miller was and it's true. Lamar Miller was the least utilized player in the NFL last year. It was a joke. For as much talent as the guy has, to not be out there and to be on the sidelines as much as he was, it made zero sense for them not to be tapping his talent. I think that Adam Gase probably could have done something with him. Huh?
Was there any murmuring that maybe they just didn't like each other?
I don't know. John could answer that. But, I mean, John, I've got to think that the best thing you've got going for you, Joe Philbin ain't there anymore.
Oh, I agree 100%. I think part of the problem is, I mean, you guys remember that before he came to Miami, Joe Philbin was offensive coordinator in Green Bay. I don't think that Lamar Miller had the running style that Joe Philbin wanted, and that's part of what caused his underutilization. But part of the other issue, too, is I think they were trying to do too much with Ryan Tannehill too quickly. Now, there were some positives out of that. The guy's the 3rd most prolific passer in terms of yardage in NFL history through the first 4 years of his career. But he's not winning enough games for that to matter. And so,
and also he doesn't take care of the ball. Like, I'm seeing the yardage, but I'm also looking at just the usage. His completion percentage is low, so they always have to throw the ball because their defenses have been shit. It's the Blake Bortles syndrome, really, when you look at it. Like, his numbers go up, and his average yards really low. 6.8, 6.7, well, 6.8, 6.7, 6.9, and 7.2. Less than 8 yards per pass.
Yeah.
To get all these yards.
And they're playing from behind so often, and that's why it's what happened with Matt Schaub in Houston. Yeah. It's because they're playing from behind so much that his numbers just go through the roof.
It all stemmed from Miami's inability to control both sides of the line of scrimmage last year.
I agree with you.
That is being addressed at every level on both sides. You read off names that everybody knows are superstar names on defense. Miami's defense, I don't think we've seen shit. I don't think that Miami's going into the preseason, I was very frustrated and concerned with what Miami was going to do. I don't care what their score lines have been in for the preseason. I've been watching what they've been doing, watching how they're developing players. I think that Miami is going to be what I think Buffalo is this year to the AFC East. I think Miami's going to end up being next year. This year, I don't think they're going to win enough games because I don't think they have the chemistry yet. But Miami seems to have set themselves up with a whole bunch of players that can explode next year. But it all hinges on one thing. How many times does Ryan Tannehill get sacked? If it's less than 30 times, Miami could win 11 games.
He hasn't been sacked less than 30 times ever.
Yeah, I was about to say, isn't his low for his career 38, which is Tom Brady's
35.
high? Oh, okay, 35.
35. Oh. Yeah, and then 58, 46, 45. Now, I will say, I would give at least 15 sacks a year on Tannehill.
Oh, yeah.
It's not always... He holds the fucking ball forever, and he tries to use his feet, which he shouldn't. I don't understand. He has kind of this Russell Wilson mindset where Russell will run into sacks all the time, but he's so fast that he'll break off these 20, 30-yard chunk runs, and everyone forgets, and they just go, oh, Russell, he's great.
Right, but you don't get that positive with Tannehill.
Right, you really don't. And like his highest rushing yards were 311 yards, and he scored 5 total rushing touchdowns his whole career.
Which boggles my mind because he's a converted wide receiver. The guy should be a lot better with running the ball and a lot more capable of escaping tackles with the fact that he's a converted wide receiver. He's supposed to understand how to run with the ball. and it doesn't seem like he does. And it's been I would put almost half of his sacks on him, Jake. I wouldn't even just say 15 out of the 46 he had last year. I'd put it at more like
he doesn't
20.
He doesn't have a very fast release, and
he also looks very uncoordinated when he's out. You know what he looks like?
Right.
He looks like a drunk because he's got the same body style. He's got the same size. He looks like a drunk Ben Roethlisberger.
So Ben Roethlisberger.
Minus the rapey bathroom thing, he looks like a drunk Ben Roethlisberger.
I imagine Ben Roethlisberger prepares for each game the same way Babe Ruth used to, where he just eats a billion hot dogs, has sex with groupies, and then chases it all with beer, and goes out.
So he
just balls.
So he idles at like a 12-pack of natural ice, is what you're telling me.
Right. I'd say Natty Ice, Keystone. I mean, he might work his way up. Like if he, well, Rolling Rock is. I mean, that's like one of those Bush Light camo packs. You know what I'm saying? With the camo and the orange on it. Like I think
it sounds like you're describing Lone Star beer to me. I think you're describing Lone Star beer. So he idles at a 12-pack of Lone Star. No, he does. He looks so uncoordinated. He looks like he thinks he's Ben Roethlisberger, but he's just so uncoordinated out there.
Right. Well, okay, so let's skip over to a little bit of the fantasy aspects of this. I think everyone agrees that Jarvis Landry is probably the most prolific fantasy scorer on this team, although the way he scores points is so oddly inconsistent. It's not like he catches a ball like 10 times. He's not Julian Edelman. Sometimes he'll just run these crazy fucking, like he ran across the field 3 times to score a touchdown last year. And he'll just do these crazy things, and that's great, but it's not as consistent as you'd like. But he's also on the punt return team, so you couldn't have the potential for extra points. So he's probably the best. I think the big question is Arian Foster viable this year? I don't know the answer to that.
I don't either.
I love his game. If he's healthy, he's easily the best 3-down running back in the league. Easily. And that's including Jamal Charles, who I think is probably number 2 3-down running back, because I'm not considering Adrian Peterson a pass catcher, of course. He's the best pure running back, clearly, by a mile. But Foster just gives you so many things. It doesn't look like he's losing a step. The dude trains ridiculously. He does most of his damage through the air.
So do you remember how Noshawn Moreno did in
done?
Miami a couple of years ago when he was there and he came out, exploded all over the field, and then shortly thereafter so did his entire left leg, I think.
You think that's going to happen?
If Arian Foster stays healthy, he will be what I hope Noshawn Moreno is going to be. But that's the big if, and he has a track record of not doing that, and that's his health is one of the reasons why I don't think Miami could necessarily put it together this year. But if he can stay healthy, even if he just plays 12 games this year, that can string together enough of a season for him to have played that going into next year when everybody's gelled a little bit more, because their entire coaching staff is brand new. Once we get that.
So are you as a Miami fan not excited about Jay Ajayi?
Oh, I am. I think he looks pretty good. I think he's
a big back.
Yeah.
He's 6 foot, 230 pounds. He can catch a ball. He can run. I think this guy is your future. I don't think it's Arian Foster. I think Arian Foster should be your 3-down back, and Jay Ajayi should be your bell cow.
Hey,
and I'm hoping that's what they go with.
I'm cool with that because he's a guy that you're right. He could be a powerhouse runner. He can get out into the flats if he needs to. So
yeah,
Jay Ajayi's fun to watch, but I mean Miami doesn't get the opportunity to talk about.
Is Jay gonna be fantasy relevant?
I wouldn't touch him until I've seen at least the first 4 weeks.
It's scary. Like in our league, we only have 4 running backs possible on the roster, but in most standard leagues, you have a bench of at least 12 people. You could probably stash him and be okay with that because if Arian Foster goes down, he's the guy. Like there's no one else. Kenyon Drake's not taking the job. Daniel Thomas, Isaiah P., Damian Williams are probably getting cut. Like, this is your guy. So, Arian Foster is a gamble, especially in the draft, but
I think Arian Foster is going to be available in so many leagues that he's going to be the kind of guy that everybody's going to sit and see what they do with him week 1 and see what Adam Gase's system comes out with to see how often they rotate running backs. And he'll be the kind of guy
week 1
who
waiver wire.
He'll be a waiver wire guy after 1 week, or maybe after 2 weeks. Personally, I think that Jay Ajayi is just going to be in there so much more. He, like you said, he's going to be the bell cow. Right now, I'm not saying that there's no way Arian can be fantasy viable. I don't see it today. I don't see it before week 1. No.
Yeah.
And certainly not in a draft. Certainly in a draft, I don't see it.
Yeah,
now, here's something though to consider. I mean, obviously Jarvis Landry is the guy that we're all looking at. Here's a stat. Let me allude to a little bit of stat digging here. This is something that will point to. You talked about Tannehill's biggest problem is he doesn't take care of the football. Jarvis Landry, over the last 2 years, has led NFL wide receivers in tackles. As in, after Tannehill throws an interception, Jarvis Landry shows so much hustle chasing a guy down to make the tackle. He leads all NFL wide receivers in tackles.
He's a good player. He's a really good player. If you have like defensive players in your fantasy league, he will get points for those, by the way.
You know the one thing with him that I really want to see him stop doing, though, and it happens a lot with Odell Beckham because they were teammates, and it happens with Mike Evans because they're buddies.
The one-handed catch practice.
NFL wide receivers. You're not soccer players. Stop fucking trading your jerseys to each other after a week 7 matchup. That's not something even soccer players do after every fucking game. They do that in like major championship games. Stop fucking taking off your clothes and signing them and giving them to each other. By the end of Jarvis Landry's career, he's going to have 97 other men's shirts in his house, and he's going to have to get rid of them and take them to Goodwill one day. Fucking stop doing this. We get it. You play FIFA in your hotel room. Stop fucking trading jerseys.
I say keep doing it. I think it's a cool tradition.
It's a soccer tradition. It's not a football thing.
You know what? It's a better tradition than following the NFL on Twitter and then seeing at the end of every game the few players that sit down and pray together and they go, "Football is family." And it's like,
oh yeah, but Conservapedia has to tell us that the NFL hates Jesus for some reason, but they're tweeting out about
the same. Well, it's because Tim Tebow sucks. But anyways, yeah, Jarvis Landry. Is he a wide receiver 1 this year? He doesn't have the touchdowns, honestly. He has the receptions in a PPR league. He had 110 last year.
He's only averaging
60
yards.
He has 1,100.
He's only averaging 60 yards a game. I mean, he's averaging 6 receptions and 6 yards a game. That's a low end of 12. He's averaging a touchdown every 2 weeks, so that's a high end of 15 on average. He's not a wide receiver 1 to me. No.
Yeah, he's got potential week to week to be the best receiver on your team, but I would not count on his production to be week in, week out. And kind of what you want in fantasy is stability. So if you have, say, like, for instance, I have Antonio Brown. If you have an Antonio Brown on your team, especially in like a standard PPR league, like a 1 quarterback, 2 wide receiver league, I think it's probably fine that you have Jarvis Landry on your team. But if he's your number 1 wide receiver, I don't think you're winning a championship. You're just going to have some fun weeks where you scored a bunch of points on people.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think with Jarvis Landry from a fantasy perspective, he's going to end up being that guy that you keep on the bench and you start occasionally in a flex slot when your running back that you were going to put in your flex slot instead is on bye. And maybe you start him, when Miami plays the Browns.
Jarvis Landry is
in a standard league. I'd be starting him probably as a wide receiver 2 or maybe as a startable flex. But in our league, I think he's a guy you start 3 or 4 times.
I'll throw this out there. If Tannehill goes down and gets hurt and Matt Moore comes in, wide receiver 2, no problem. Wide receiver 2, no problem as soon as Tannehill goes down and Matt Moore starts.
I will say that Jarvis Landry has the potential to be the guy that every week you have him on your bench, he scores a ton of points, and every week you play him, he doesn't score shit.
You're saying he's going to be Miami's Doug Baldwin, basically.
Oh, it's all Doug Baldwin. Oh, how many hearts have you broken, Dougie? Anyways, so now we can move on to the I don't know. I'm going to try to be nice. The literal cancer of the NFL. Is that nice enough? The NFC East is where we're headed. And it's just the most... Like, have you ever been into an orphanage and you see the kid that's 17 that's clearly not going to get adopted, and he's just waiting to age out of the program so he can go be homeless somewhere?
He'll be huffing paint in like 3 weeks. Yeah, exactly.
That's how I view the NFC East. It's just nobody wants it, and if you're a fan of one of those teams, you're just like, well, this is my lot in life. I'm a Lions fan, and I feel better about that than I do for someone that's an NFC East, any of those teams, fan. That's bad. That shouldn't happen. So we have the Washington Redskins, who won the division with 9 wins, and the you like that game versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We have the Philadelphia Eagles that had 7 wins, that I think led the league in drops and Sam Bradford memes. New York Giants, who have a guy that can catch balls with one hand, but it's only worth 6 wins. And then Dallas Cowboys, who have a quarterback who doesn't even have the right number of vertebrae anymore. So, I don't know what positivity could possibly come out of this fucking division. It's just... Actually, it's a conference. I'm sorry.
It's a division.
No, it's division, you're right. Who's winning this? The Redskins?
Yep.
Is it the Redskins?
Yep. It's the Redskins because they're the only team that we know has an actual fucking plan right now.
And the plan is don't sink the ship, Kirk.
Kirk Cousins to Deshaun Jackson 50 times a game.
They're the only and Cook, yeah, they're the only team that actually has a plan. You know, the Eagles,
yeah.
It looks like we're going to have both. You know, this came out today that Goff is now the number 3 quarterback for the Rams, and Carson Wentz is going to be the number 2. Doug Peterson is taking the long-term strategy with Carson. He's going to have him. Yeah. He's going to have him sit under Bradford for at least 8 to 10 weeks. He's got a broken rib now, so maybe a little bit longer. Maybe it's the whole season. I don't know, but there's no plan there in Philadelphia. That place has just turned into an absolute dumpster fire. If the city wasn't a dumpster fire as was, keep in mind, their biggest sports star in Philly history is a made-up boxer. So, Philadelphia is a wreck. The Cowboys, we talked about it for probably a good 30 minutes on our show this past week. People are saying...
The ghost of Jessica Simpson, I'm telling you.
People are getting excited she's dead?
No.
Oh! I was like, holy shit! I didn't know she died. People are excited about Dak Prescott because I've trumpeted him all preseason long. That being said, Dak, you're gonna have to come in there and score 30 points a game for that team to win the division. That's not fucking happening. Especially when you've got a rookie running back there with you too, and Ezekiel Elliott.
Running backs don't really have a hard job as far as like transition to the NFL. If you're fast, you're fast. And that's really the problem. Like, if you could read a block, you could read a block. That's fine. So you'll see these rookie running backs come in and do just fine.
He's just going to let the Trent Richardson thing just go right past.
Dude, he's not nearly as bad as Trent Richardson at looking at. He's not hole blind.
We don't know that. We have
Ezekiel Elliott has a history of finding holes.
We don't know.
I know because on Instagram he got snapped with some chick.
With a lady next to him.
He found her holes.
Yeah.
Right.
And he also found weed that one fell apart.
He didn't buy it. He went into a dispensary to check it out, and he was exonerated of all charges. You're garbage. So let's talk about the Washington Redskins right now because I like racist teams. So, Kirk Cousins he's one of those players that I think people look at and they go, no, I'm good. But the dude, 69.8% completion, 4,166 yards, 29 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He only got sacked 26 times, which means his release and timing routes were very, very good because he doesn't have a great line. It's a decent one. 5 rushing touchdowns, which you're not going to get this year. I don't understand how that happened. It just worked out. He only had 48 yards. So don't expect those. Expect at least 1 touchdown probably because he's probably going to be good for a sneak. But the quarterbacking itself looked really good. Now, I will say 7.7 yards per catch is what they're looking at. So it's a dink and duck situation, but they didn't have Deshaun Jackson for most of the year last year. And while he is old, he is still the best receiver on that team. He's 29. So he's not like the oldest guy ever, but like I said, good receivers, 29 years or older, have typically done pretty well. However, people don't remember Deshaun Jackson has. What do you think his all-time highest catches number is for his career? All-time.
Most receptions in a single season?
Best number of receptions in one season.
Man, I'm trying to figure it out because he drops the ball at weird times.
Right.
I don't know. I'd say
maybe he's gotten to 80.
I was gonna say his ceiling is 105, absolute max.
82.
82.
Yeah.
Okay.
82 is the most. You want to know his second most catches? 62.
Yeah, that's a lot of drops. That's a lot of drops.
His last year in Philadelphia.
What's his target rate? That's the thing.
It was a lot. I don't know it on this stat sheet, but the dude has only. I mean, he's had some 1,000-yard seasons. He's big. He's a big play guy. You know that, but he's not consistent. So fantasy wise, I'm not looking at him.
Yeah, I agree.
Unless he's like deep, and it's a value pick, and like because he has a wide receiver one. Let's be real. But if you're in a PPR league, he's almost untouchable at the first three wide receivers you pick. It just doesn't make sense.
And let's face it, Kirk Cousins is not a good NFL quarterback. He's the best game manager the game has ever seen. He still falls into the game manager
Smith
category.
exists.
He's an Alex Smith. That's what he is. He's a really, really, really good game manager, but he's not a quarterback.
I'm just saying, Trent Dilfer has a ring.
4,100 yards though. Like that's not 543 attempts. Like if you can be efficient, anyone can be a quarterback. Like if you're efficient when you throw, upwards close to 70. Drew Brees has made a career out of this shit. He's never been like Brett Favre out there slinging 80-yard bombs. Now he does that every once in a while, but usually those are like really good timing routes where he'll hit someone perfectly on a 20-yard post or a slant, or just it's just a big play situation, and they'll dink and dunk all the way down the field. And he used to throw it up to Marcus Colston or Jimmy Graham in the end zone on a fade route, and they'd catch it. He's never been like this huge. He's more of a volume guy than a chunk guy. Now someone like Tom Brady does both, which is why he's been so great his whole career. But I wouldn't discount this. I don't know if 29 touchdowns is not going to do it for me for a quarterback one. Now, granted, there's not a lot of them, so if you are at the bottom of the draft,
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's in the second tier.
You're not losing, right? You're not losing out on a Kirk Cousins pick. He's gonna do well, but there's other people that will do better for you. Now, Jordan Reed, does he have a repeat? Because it was really, really good last year. I mean, the dude caught 87 balls for 952 yards and 11 touchdowns. I gotta imagine the touchdowns are closer to 7 this year, right?
They've got to go down. They've actually got a running. It looks like they have a plan in their running
Matt
game
Jones
this year.
sucks.
It looks like they're trying to put together a plan in the running game. That being
If
said,
Matt Jones has a per carry average of 4.1 or better, I will be very surprised. He looks bad between the tackles. He just doesn't look good.
Cook was he was just an absolute anomaly last year. You know what he was? He was Devontae Freeman of tight ends last year is what he was. He just completely came out of nowhere.
Jordan Reed?
Yeah. You've got to imagine that he's gonna fall off.
God, I look at it though, and when tight end is one of the hardest positions on offense to learn, because you got to be able to block like a lineman and catch like a wide receiver, and run crisp routes and have good hands. This is the third year of a tight end's career is the year that you find out if they can play, unless they get hurt, of course. So I think the guy can play. Now I don't know. He's not going to put Gronk numbers up. He's not Gronk. But he's solidly at the bottom of tier number 1 or the top of tier number 2. Like, he's worth a pick. If he gives you 80 receptions for 800 yards and 8 touchdowns, that's a really fantastic tight end production.
Are you taking him
He might be my favorite receiver on this team. How about that?
You're taking him before you take somebody like Delaney Walker, right?
Delaney Walker's usage is high, but he's getting old. So, I don't know. And also, Mariota doesn't really have any other options. So, Delaney Walker might be the guy I put ahead of him.
The Titans are going to be a running first team this year. They're not going to be chucking the ball.
Yeah, but the thing about that is the line doesn't look that great. I don't know. Delaney Walker should fall off comparatively to last year. I mean, he just went nuts. But Jordan Reed should maintain roughly this, probably fewer touchdowns. But the thing is, the running game can't punch it in. Alfred Morris wasn't the guy, and he started over Matt Jones, who definitely isn't the guy. And that's their best running back right now. Matt Jones had 144 attempts last year, which is a very nice sample size. 3.4 yards per carry. 3.4. That's not going to do it. He had 19 receptions for 304, which is where he really does well, but he loses fumbles a lot. He lost 4 fumbles last year without starting a game and only playing in 13. That's not okay for a starting running back in the NFL.
No, it's not. That usually gets people cut.
Exactly. But the problem is they don't have anyone else. They have Chris Thompson as their number 2 running back. So I'm not excited about any of the players on this team necessarily outside of Kirk Cousins and Jordan Reed fantasy-wise. But they are probably going to win the NFC East.
Yeah, I agree with you on both of those. But I also do think as an IRL receiver, I think Deshaun Jackson can have a really good year, especially because Kirk Cousins did some really good things last year with a crappy team. Yes, they only won 9 games in a crappy thing, but they were coming off of the whole RG3 debacle, and that team was the dumpster fire of dumpster fires for a while. So to see them in this upward swing with a quarterback that seems to be starting to get it, and an offense that has a good opportunity to click with guys like Deshaun Jackson and Jordan Reed, I think, the Redskins are going to win this division. I don't think they'll go anywhere, but once they get into the playoffs, but they're going to win this division.
Guys, what's the basement? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And I only say that because of the fact that Tony Romo went down.
What's the basement for y'all for wins? Like, what do you think we could have a repeat of what happened in 2000? I think it was 2009 when the Seahawks won the NFC West, went going 7-9. What's your basement on wins for this division? Could somebody win with 7 wins in this division?
I think it'll be 8-8.
8-8.
But only because I think the Redskins are a better team than that Seahawks team.
I agree.
So,
I agree.
Okay. I wouldn't be surprised if they won the division with 7. I think that could win it. I just don't think they're going to have to win it with 7. I think they're going to have at least 8.
I just don't see the Cowboys. The Cowboys, for them to have won 8 games with Tony Romo was going to be insanely difficult.
Maybe, I don't know.
Dude, he's going to have to. They're going to have to score 30 to 35 points a game. Every year. I mean, they ranked Madden, actually. I don't know if you guys saw this. This was a story that came out. Madden, statistically, there was an error in the algorithm for how it divides everything. They were actually ranked in Madden on defense this year. If you pop it in before the update, an unupdated version of Madden 2017, they were ranked as the 33rd worst defense in the NFL.
The 33rd. Nice. Well,
I just wanted to bring up one more thing because Lou brought up something that I thought was interesting. Lou, you talked before about where you would draft Jordan Reed, right? He's the number 2 tight end. So when you look at the numbers and
number
the way that
league wide,
when
compared to Greg Olsen and
yes,
going into this season, he's listed as the number 2 tight end.
Oh, okay. Projection.
I would assume his projection's going to be lower, though. I think
his projected points, though, are 235 for our scoring style. So when you look at that in comparison to wide receivers, you would be drafting him around the same time that you would think about drafting guys like Amari Cooper.
So low end wide receiver 1 is what he's being projected at.
So if you
that's why I say he's my favorite wide receiver on the team as his tight end. Like, he's my favorite target. For sure. I don't think he's going to catch 100 balls. I think he's more of a, in our league, a wide receiver 3. Obviously, you can't play him in that slot, but I think that's the kind of production you should expect out of him is an upper echelon wide receiver 3.
But here's the thing I want you to make sure to keep in mind, and people that are listening to this and bothering to care about the numbers. The drop-off from picking up a guy like Amari Cooper to go into the next best is 2 points, 3 points. The drop-off going from Jordan Reed to the next best tight end is 23. So if what that tells me is if you can get Gronk and Reed fairly early, because there's less of a difference between Gronk and Reed than there is between Reed and Olsen in terms of their projected points. So if you're looking for, if you're in the 235 and you already have a range in terms of projected points and you already have a wide receiver that has more than that, and Jordan Reed comes up, his ratio of what he's going to do compared to other tight ends tells me that it may not be a bad idea to take him early if you're already in that round and you have a wide receiver one already picked.
Sure. So, for instance, last year I ran like 4 or 5 games straight a tandem of Delaney Walker and Jordan Reed at my tight end and flex. And I won plenty of games.
You're because what you're doing there is you're picking off the difference between guys that are in the same range, the difference.
Exactly. And a lot of flex players aren't putting up the production of a Jordan Reed.
Right.
And a lot of tight ends aren't putting up the production of a Delaney Walker.
Right.
So really what you want, my best tip for fantasy football ever is this guy that I'm starting a better option than the guy that they're starting this week? And obviously that seems common sense, but a lot of people don't look at it that way. A lot of people look at it like who's just going to score a ton of points this week based on their matchup? No, if you had to pick between the two, who would you draft? And then you try to play that. Right. And so if my wide receiver one scores more than your wide receiver one, I could check that box off and go down to the next and try to make my lineup a better, let's call it a daily fantasy draft than yours. And that's how I play, and it's been successful in the past. I've just never gotten over the top, damn it. This is the year.
And that's what's so great, though, about the tight end position, is because there is a disparity between the top 3 guys and everyone else. So you can make up some points with your against other people's wide receivers with your tight end.
The problem with that, though, is, again, it's got to be a value pick, because if you reach for Jordan Reed, he's not making – he's just – if he scores, 265 points or something like that, just say it's 265. If you are grabbing him over a guy that would have scored 300 points, that's not a good thing.
Exactly. No,
so you have to think about it. So, yeah.
If you're going to draft Jordan Reed, all 10 of the top 10 wide receivers that are available on the board better already be gone. If you don't, otherwise you're losing points in the other direction to everyone else.
That's why the draft is so fun. Which, by the way, will be live streamed.
By the time everybody hears this, it will have already happened.
You already missed it, but it's available in our playlist. So go look. Anyways, so the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's move on to them, because they have the shittiest quarterback situation outside of Los Angeles. Sam Bradford's your best guy. Chase Daniel's your number 2, and Carson Wentz is your number 3 right now. I'm actually very surprised and a little happy that Jared Goff and Carson Wentz are sitting, hopefully for the whole year. Can you imagine if this sits and we start to get back to the roots of the game where you have to sit and earn playing time? You don't get it because you're picked high. Like, granted, when that started to happen, it was because it was guys like Matthew Stafford or Sam Bradford and getting way crazy deals out of college to play football, and so you got to start the guy because you're paying him $20 million for a 20-year-old guy to throw a ball around. Is anyone on this team fantasy relevant, really? Because I hate Jordan Matthews.
It doesn't surprise me to see that Carson Wentz is going to be sitting. Not only did he suffer a minor fracture in one of his ribs here in the preseason, but also his head coach is Doug Peterson, longtime NFL backup, guy who sat under guys like Brett Favre for a long time and watched and developed under him. Never really got a shot as a starter in the league, but he understands that, and he's a quarterback himself. Goff kind of surprises me. I really thought that, with new franchise moving to LA, the face of your franchise is Case Keenum.
Okay, so you say that, but Jeff Fisher sat Steve McNair for 2 years.
Well,
Dan Marino,
because he had Warren Moon.
Warren Moon. Was Steve McNair drafted in the 1979 NFL draft?
What the fuck are you talking about? He was drafted in 90. He was drafted in 94.
I don't know. It was a Titan, though. Was Warren Moon ever a Titan? I don't think so. He was only an Oiler, right? Yeah.
Anyways, move on.
Dan Marino was sitting on the bench when the 1984 season started. The only reason he came in was because David Woodley got injured. The idea of quarterbacks coming straight into the league and blowing everybody away, it's a new animal. And I agree with you, Jake. I'm glad to see that we're going to see a couple of guys that came into the league with high expectations sitting and learning. I think it provides a better product for the NFL.
It was Chris Chandler, by the way, not Warren fucking Moon.
Well, yeah, Warren Moon was still in the league at that point, though. He had moved on to Minnesota in '94. So that year he moved on.
It was 95. The year was 1995. And anyways, they were the Houston Oilers.
Yeah, and that's when Warren Moon moved on to the Minnesota Vikings. I was mistaken.
I was so hoping that the Texans were going to come back as the Oilers the way the Browns came back as the Browns.
But Adams was never going to allow it. He was a douche.
Let's kill him again. Anyway, so Jordan Matthews is the guy that makes me super fucking angry to watch. Because, did you guys watch any Philadelphia Eagles games last year? Because I did, because I drafted Sam Bradford because I was like, I'm going to get the best value in the fucking draft. And maybe that was true because I took him like dead last. But it didn't work out for me. And I struggled until I got Drew Brees. And it was too late by then. And then I had to trade him to John for a pick. And I'm using it in this year's draft to not pick Sam Bradford. The guy has more drops than anyone I've ever seen. And this is a guy, Jordan Matthews, that I see run hitch routes and like short little slant. He's not out there dropping bombs. He's a possession receiver. And he's dropping easy passes. And Sam Bradford, he's no Tom Brady. He's no Peyton Manning in his prime. He's not throwing these beautiful, crisp balls every time he throws a ball. But they're certainly not lame ducks. I could catch some of these balls, man. Like Jordan Matthews, you're a wide receiver.
Sam Bradford is still your quarterback. It's a damn good thing Chip Kelly's gone.
Oh, God, yeah, it is.
Because that
offense sputtered under him.
I can't... It boggles my mind to think that 2 years ago, Philadelphia fans were calling for Mark Sanchez. Because he was the only person that could win them any fucking games. It's just Philadelphia. I just can't see that team doing anything this year. They just, we've used the word 3 or 4 times now, dumpster fire. I don't know how else you describe it. It's bad.
He got sacked more than any other time in his career. Of course, he's had pretty shortened seasons since, like, he only played in 2013, missed all of 2014, of course. So we're missing a thing there, but it's just 65% completion rate though. So he's in that tier 2 as far as completion percentage, but 3,700 yards. The problem here though, really, 19 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Granted, the guy had been out of the league for a little bit due to injury. He came back. It looked like it was going to go okay. He's only 28. It feels like he's 45.
It really does. It feels like he and Tom Brady should be like, comparing war stories in terms of how long
I know, right? But I can't endorse picking Sam Bradford. But if you're in like a 2 quarterback dynasty league, fuck it, right? Just pick him up, see what happens. I'd rather you pick Carson Wentz for the dynasty league, but if you got to start somebody and you forgot quarterback for some reason because you're bad at fantasy football, he's better than the 31st and 32nd quarterback. So
Sam Bradford will be on somebody in our league.
Sam Bradford's probably the 28th best quarterback in the league. And if he can stay healthy, you'll have some games. I can't imagine he's going to only throw 19 touchdowns again, right? People are buzzing about Zach Ertz. I don't know if I'm in there with that. People have buzzed about Zach Ertz every year. He's behind Brent Selleck on the depth chart still. Nelson Aguilar also is one of those guys that was just really disappointing. So I can't really tell.
Well, so here's
if you're a Philly fan, I can't tell you to be happy.
So Zach Ertz is actually listed out of ESPN as the 9th best tight end at 191.2 points in our league style. I agree with you. I don't know why Wait, who did you say he was listed behind?
Brent Selleck.
Brent Selleck, thank you. Brent Selleck does not even show up on this.
He probably
list.
doesn't have a projection.
He has no projection, so that's odd.
Yeah.
That's odd.
Well, it's just right now through the NFL.com. Nelson Aguilar though only had 23 receptions last year.
Oh God, that's
as the number 2 wide receiver on the team,
bad.
1 touchdown. If you draft Nelson Aguilar, I can't endorse that. I think maybe in 4 years he may get you a Ruben Randall type season. But no thank you. He may have 1 or 2 good games. Don't jump on that bandwagon unless he shows consistency, because it's just not happening with him.
No, I agree with you 100%.
Anyone else on Philadelphia that, like, I see Ryan Matthews there, and I think, nope, no thank you.
I think we've already beat Philadelphia to death. We probably shouldn't have spent this much time on them.
The people in Philadelphia don't spend this much time talking about the Eagles.
All right, well,
I feel bad
let's spend more.
this year.
Let's spend more time on the New York Giants then. Who? Oh God, I'm getting depressed looking at these teams. Like, Eli Manning has never felt an emotion. You have Rashad Jennings, who is perennially disappointing, and
Shane Vereen,
you
we
have,
can't figure out what the hell he is.
he's a plug and play guy for Bill Belichick, who happens to not be on a team Bill Belichick runs. And Odell Beckham Jr. is the only bright spot here. Don't draft anyone except Eli and Odell, and preferably together,
Right.
so you can make Eli even more valuable to yourself. Otherwise, I don't know what you're doing. It's just not a good situation. It makes me upset to look at this.
I feel like
62.
we're analyzing the Sun Belt Conference in college football right now.
Well,
Like,
I'm looking at.
it's
I don't
so
know.
depressing.
Eli is considered an elite quarterback, and I don't get it. He's been in the league 13 years. 13 years. Here are his completion percentage numbers in a row: 48.2, 52.8, 57.7, 56.1, 60.3, 62.3, 62.9, 61, 59.9, 57.5, 63.1, and last year 62.6. He's not efficient.
No, and this is a
He's-
2-time Super Bowl winner we're talking
But
about.
he has 2 rings,
Right.
and he beat Tom Brady for both of them.
Isn't that nuts?
That's-
Like, he's
That's why he's in any conversations. There's 3 reasons. His last name's Manning.
right, of course.
But I mean, look, the guy's obviously he's a serviceable quarterback. I think he's he's what
It's the touchdown numbers. He does have a nose for the touchdown
does.
in the red zone.
he does. He's very red zone efficient, and that's I think what the difference has been. Because otherwise, he looks like a game manager, and we've been using that word a lot tonight too for whatever reason. Well, probably because it's that.
Well, he just doesn't have a cannon, you know? He's such a boring... I can't imagine being a Giants fan. It must be so fucking
My
boring.
wife is, and it is. She stopped watching football because it's boring to watch the games. She's, I'd rather knit.
Wow, you can do that while watching an NFL game, and I can't. So that says a lot. Odell Beckham's the only thing you got going for you, and he's just got hair, and he catches balls one-handed occasionally. I don't understand why that's a big deal. He's a really, really great wide receiver, but come on.
Can I ask a question? What is Odell Beckham's haircut? The afro, mohawk, curly, dyed on the top. What is that haircut called? Because every kid...
The Beckham.
Is it called the Odell? Is it
I'm
called
guessing.
the Beckham? Because every kid
It better
in the
be called the
grocery store,
Odell.
whenever I go, every kid who works at my local grocery store has the same haircut. And I'm just like, dude, what is that? Is that the Odell? Is that the Beckham? Is that the frohawk
Oh.
dyed thingy? What is his hair called?
You know what's
It
interesting?
used to be the box cut.
Eli Manning and Odell Beckham went to the same high school.
Oh, no,
Isidore Newman High School in New Orleans, Louisiana. Cool. I don't know what it's called, man. He started it, though, and it just keeps happening. He'll have somewhere between 90 and 100 receptions, 13 and 1,500 yards, and 10 and 13 touchdowns this year. He's solid. If you can get him, get him. Other than that, don't touch the Giants. Moving on. Dallas Cowboys. Ezekiel Elliott has a lot of buzz. How are you guys feeling about that?
I felt a lot better about him when we didn't think that Tony Romo's spine had been destroyed. I was
Fair enough.
feeling a lot better about him when there were going to be opportunities for Romo to go out there and be chucking the ball downfield. Now, I don't know. I'm conflicted because in a PPR league, obviously Dak Prescott, and if you take a look at his numbers from college, he is a guy who will always check down, and he's always going to be looking for that safety valve, especially being a rookie in the NFL now. So in a PPR league, I still think Ezekiel Elliott is going to provide you great value this year. I'm just not sure in a standard league if, with no Tony Romo being back there, I think every defense they play this year is going to have their ears pinned back, and they're going to be coming after Prescott, and they're going to be coming after Elliott on every single play. I just do not see them respecting Prescott yet to keep a couple of guys back. I don't see it yet.
I mean, he did look impressive in the preseason, but like I said before, preseason is not something I look at stats for. So...
No, but at the same time, if you watch those games at all, he looked like he was making good decisions. He looked like a guy that
he didn't look rushed. He didn't look like he was in trouble.
He was comfortable in the pocket when he was in the pocket. He was making good decisions, and so that's why I felt like when Tony Romo went down, and we talked about Dak Prescott ad nauseum, didn't we, Liv? I think that he is going to do okay for that team. I think he's the future of that team. But I think this season, Tony Romo going down will be the reason why the Dallas Cowboys won't win the NFC East. I think they probably would have if Tony Romo was the starter.
I thought so, too. Like, going in the season, we're all thinking, if Tony Romo can stay healthy, and it just...
That's a 9 or 10
poor
win
guy
team. In that division, that's a 9 or 10 win team if they've got Tony Romo healthy.
Right, and he's a good quarterback, but I think the guy should retire. I'm worried he's going to die on the fucking field. He broke his goddamn back. Romo, just give it up. Go golf. I know you like it. Just go. So who are we drafting in fantasy off this team? First, I think we can talk about the other ones later, but Dak Prescott is probably going to play the whole season. Assuming he stays healthy, is he, in a 2-quarterback league, draftable? Is he going to be the 32nd or 31st quarterback? Or is he going to be better?
I'm taking him. I'm taking him over. I'm taking Dak Prescott over Case Keenum. I mean, for sure, he's going before him, and I'm also taking him over Sam Bradford because neither of those teams have any weapons. At least Dak Prescott has some weapons to unload the ball to.
And I think Dak Prescott, because of the way 2-quarterback leagues run, you have 2 starters, and then you have a bench player usually. You stash him for a little bit and use him during your buys. And by the time the buys come around, assuming you don't have an early buy, I think week 6 or 7 is probably when they're really going to start clicking. If you have, say, a late season one like Matt Ryan, or a week 9 like I think Kirk Cousins is week 9, you could probably get some value out of this guy and then dump him or keep him if he's playing really well because he's a running quarterback. So you might get more points than you expect out of the guy, but I'm not counting on him to win you a game. I'm counting on him not to lose you a game. I don't think he's going to go out there and drop 25 fantasy points for your team, but he might score 13 really valuable points here or there. So we'll see, of course, but they don't have anyone else, so he's starting. So you can count on that. It's not like these other situations where there's guys not going to, like Denver. Trevor Siemian scares the shit out of me because while he was clearly the best,
7th round pick from last year.
It's a wide open competition. So
as we've talked about before, we have a keeper league.
Yes, 2 keepers.
Des Bryant was my keeper until Tony Romo went down for my wide receiver. So people know the rules for our keepers are we can only keep 1 player per position, and we're keeping 2 players. So I was going to be keeping for myself Adrian Peterson and Des Bryant. Those would have been my 2 keepers coming into the season. Dak Prescott goes down. Tony Romo goes down. Des Bryant was listed as the 5th wide receiver coming in to this draft. I think he dropped so far that I have actually, and you know this, I switched my keeper so that instead of keeping Des Bryant, I am actually keeping a linebacker because I think with Dak Prescott being a running quarterback, Des Bryant's production will be hurt enough that it made more sense for me to keep the number 1 linebacker over probably what's going to end up being like the number 9 or 10 wide receiver. That hurts because Des Bryant is a name you would never expect to have anybody drop from a keeper. But I don't think without Tony Romo, and Dak Prescott, I just don't think that he's going to be able to produce the way that they're expecting. And it's such a tough
And I will tell you though that Des Bryant does have some injury concerns, right, especially in his foot. So that could be an issue.
He sat on my injured reserve for a long time, and he's still
right,
listed
exactly
as questionable coming into the season.
So I don't know, but do you guys think that Ezekiel Elliott is okay? Everyone's saying he's going to be the offensive rookie of the year. He's going to be. Someone said he might be the MVP, which I don't see if they don't make the playoffs. Some people are just looking at this, and that, of course, a lot of this was before Romo went down. Is he worth the high draft rate that I'm seeing out of him? Because I'm seeing him picked ADP, probably overall 6th pick, a lot of drafts, a lot of them.
I'm not seeing him today as a first round pick. I would have said he is a first round pick. He is a mid to late first round pick with a healthy Romo.
Yes.
Today,
sure,
in a PPR league. Today, no.
Yeah, it's kind of scary to look at him.
And once again, it goes back to the point that we've been making this whole time. Tony Romo is a much better quarterback than he's ever been given credit for.
Yeah.
Look at how much look at how much him going down is affecting every aspect of this entire division.
I think Jason Witten's undraftable at this point. Des Bryant is severely hurt by this, and people might say, well, Romo went down, so they're gonna lean on the running game. The thing about running games is you need a passing game to make people back off so that they don't stack the box. Right. I don't know that that's going to happen. Now, granted, Darren McFadden had 1,000 yards last year with a hurt Tony Romo, so maybe I'm crazy. But they also had Kellen Moore, who I think is a better thrower than Dak Prescott. And I guess Brandon Weeden, who at least throws the ball downfield to keep safeties honest. So we'll see how the offense runs. They don't really have these. I guess Cole Beasley actually might have gone up. He might be the only guy that really benefits from this because he's a slot receiver that runs these short routes. So actually, Jason Witten is a safety valve, but he's old. That scares me. If you go Jason Witten, be prepared to have another tight end. Jason Witten should be a second tight end you draft, and you should be happy if he produces for you during a bye week.
Yeah, I think Cole Beasley is a guy, especially with a quarterback like Dak Prescott, who's going to need a security blanket, especially kind of short-ish over the middle. Cole Beasley strikes me as being able to sort of take over the reins of what Wes Welker left that slot. The whole idea of what a slot the receiver is, because Cole Beasley looks a lot like what Wes Welker did in Miami before he went to New England. And
don't be racist.
What?
They're white guys. It's okay. No, I hear you though. They have a very similar game. He's like a little stocky dude, he's scrappy. He reminds me of Edelman as well, who was also a white guy.
Yeah, it's all those slot receivers. Yeah, the slot receivers. They're scrappy white guys that want to get in there and get their asses kicked.
And then we have Jordy Nelson, the great white hope, who's out there just gaming it. So I guess takeaways from this: Dallas Cowboys, New York Giants, Philadelphia Eagles. Who's dead last? Is it the Cowboys or the Eagles? I don't think. I think the Giants are the second best team in this division now. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going with the Eagles. They have 0 playmakers, 0 on the offensive side of the ball.
Right. I mean, they have Darren Sproles. He's the lightning bug.
Oh yeah, special teams, great. Okay, yeah, offensive side of the ball, they have 0 playmakers.
Dallas Cowboys are winning how many games then?
Are we assuming that Tony is out the entire year and does not come back healthy in week 9 or 10? Are we assuming he's out the entire year? He
broke his fucking back. He's 57 years old. I'm going to assume that if he plays a game, he gets broken in it like last year.
Yeah.
So that was sad too. Came back way too early. Yeah, I'm looking at their absolute top is 6 wins, right?
I was gonna say
absolute. Like, I think they could steal a couple with like a crazy play here or there. Like Dak Prescott could run, or like he could really surprise teams in week 1 and 2 and steal a couple wins because they're not prepared for him. But I don't know.
They're
the
playing the Giants and the Eagles to start off the first 2 weeks. Those 2 teams are going to be prepared for him.
Well, they're also garbage. So the Giants, I guess, are the only ones knocking on the Redskins' door, huh?
I don't even see that. I see the Giants looking at 6 to 7 wins, and I see the Redskins are anywhere from 8 to, I'd say, 8 or 9.
Well, if all these teams are going to suck, the Redskins have got to win 11 games. they're gonna destroy the division. You know what I mean?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. They're not going to necessarily destroy the division. There's so much parity because they're all so garbage that there's going to be some games that get stolen here and there.
Yeah, they went 4-2 in the division last year. So that's, not great. Considering the competition.
So here's the thing with that. I really do think that if Tony Romo didn't go down, there was at least some competition between the Redskins and the Cowboys. That's not the case anymore. I think the Redskins win the division, and I think the Cowboys. I'm concerned Tony Romo doesn't come back at all from this injury. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I think maybe this might be the last thing we see Romo do on a football field is get his back broken. Now that said, I think the guy. He's underrated, and I don't know why everyone hated Tony Romo forever. Dom, our resident Cowboy fan, hates Tony Romo, and I don't get it because as a Lions fan, of course, again, my view is once you have a guy that can throw the ball, you're good. You're good to go, and you've had that guy for years. I had Scott Mitchell. I had Joey Harrington. I will never, ever forget the feeling of having Joey Harrington on my team and wishing Charlie Batch would play. So don't give me this Tony Romo sucks bullshit. Tony Romo's just not Troy Aikman, and that's okay. Not everyone's Troy Aikman. So Cowboy fan, stop being butthurt. Philadelphia fan, I'm waiting for you to be loud. I hope Doug Peterson keeps his job because I'm sure he's a better coach than Chip Kelly. New York Giants just moved to England, and Washington Redskins change your name to Washington Blackface. It's less offensive. So I guess we could close the show on everyone's favorite topic to kind of bring it out of the doldrums that are the NFC East and AFC East, and that is Lou's most famous endeavor, Mo Money Mo Mozgov, in which Lou profiles NBA center Timothy Mozgov, who was one of the worst centers in the NBA last year and cashed the fuck in with the Lakers because of it, and finds out who does Timothy Mozgov make more money than.
So, thanks for the ringing, just incredible endorsement and intro there, Jake. That was awesome.
You owe me.
So, apparently this thing just called the Olympics happened. Have you guys heard of this? This thing just happened.
I've heard of it.
It's a bunch of non-sports.
We can't say that. We can't say that. It was the world sport event.
Is Olympics,
happened in Rio.
Is Olympics racist now?
Olympics is trademarked. Only NBC can use the word Olympics.
Oh, well, then we're fucked because we mentioned the Eagles 40 times, and I think I said Rocky at one point, too. So, fuck it. Let's just keep going. If they all sue us,
said
we
fake boxer.
We only have so much money. If they all sue us, it doesn't matter. They can't all get the money. So, anyways, the Olympics just happened, and Michael Phelps is worth over the course of his career, has earned an estimated $85 million. That's from endorsements.
That's a pretty penny.
He's had endorsements with Subway, he's had endorsements with Fruit of the Loom, he's had endorsements with Gatorade, all these different people. So I was curious, how much does he actually make from medals, though? Well, and I'll show you guys something. And so I wanted to take a look, and this took a lot of research. To give everybody out there, I put 7 hours of research, and I might actually...
Straight? Was it straight?
No, over the course of 3 days. So I put a lot of research into this. And what you're looking at right now is each country in the Rio Games, how many medals they won, of each bronze, gold, and silver, and how much each team. Now, this is just an interesting conversation to have. For example, in the United States, if you win a gold, you get $25,000, $15,000 for silver, $10,000 for bronze. Great Britain and England, you don't get anything. Those athletes are playing 100% off of endorsements and things like that. They don't actually get paid by a British Olympic Committee whatsoever. Then you've got some that go stupid. Russia paying out $180,000 if you win a gold. You've got some countries that okay.
Thailand?
I don't know where Azerbaijan is, or Azerbaijan. I'm guessing it's Asia. I'm guessing because it's hard to say that it's Asia.
It's an Eastern European country, and it's pronounced Azerbaijan.
That's what I said the second time. Yeah. Anyways, Azerbaijan, there you go. That one pays out over $500,000. Malaysia pays out over $600,000 for a gold medal. They have never won a gold medal.
That's why they can offer that amount of money.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck it. Just say it's $12 million. Now, some of these countries, it's really interesting. Like, for example, Thailand offers out $314,000 for a gold medal. That gets paid over the course of the next 20 years. So where am I going? Yeah, that's a 20-year payout. So where am I going with this, guys? Lou, obviously an individual medal is going to make less money than the 75th worst center in the NBA last year, Timothy Mozgov, who's now making $16 million a year. Well, I was curious. At the Rio Olympic Games, when you take all of these, now a lot of these countries, like I said, I was able to find what they actually pay for. The rest of them, on average, pay out about $9,000. And I had all this information. And per medal, they pay out an average of $9,000. So instead of putting in each individual one of those, like some of them, Cuba doesn't make their prize money known. The Ukraine is the same way. North Korea, they just don't kill you, basically. Actually, no, the guy who won the gold in powerlifting 4 years ago from North Korea, his family was given a washing machine by Kim Jong-un. So, yeah, there you go.
Are you lying? Are you lying?
No, that's serious. I actually found the article. Yeah. He was presented with a washing machine.
It is actually common too for the athletes of North Korea to get extra rice rations.
Yes. So, anyways, so I started going similar to what we did with the world leaders, where I wanted to see democratically elected world leaders. How far could we go until we reached Timothy Mozgov's salary? Well, we went all the way to the end. So I started doing the same with all of the medal winnings from each country. Well, when we look at the gold medals, we get all the way to the end. The gold medal winners from the Rio Olympic Games walked away with approximately $12.6 million this year. To give you an idea, these are the people who are the best in the world at their sports. These are the people who are the absolute best on the planet, and this is all of them. There are 300 events at the Olympics. That's 300 medals, made up $12.6 million in prize money globally, whereas Timothy Mozgov, scoring 4.2 points a game and playing 14 minutes a game over the course of the next 4 years, will earn $16 million a year. Okay, now, I also wanted to see, well, hey, let's keep going and let's get all the way. Well, once you get about halfway done with silver, because the silver medals took home about $6.2 million, and then bronze took home about 4.4, so you get up to about $23 million once you add all these guys up. So, damn, I'm over the limit for Timothy Mozgov. But then I got to thinking, you know what? The Olympics are only every 4 years. Timothy Mozgov is walking out with that $16 million per year. So if we take that 23 and we were to divide that out by 4, and in some of these cases, like I said, some of these people are taking their prize money home over 20 years, Timothy Mozgov walks out with nearly 4 times the amount on an annual basis. He will walk out this year with the annual basis over the course of the next 4 years before an Olympics than all of the medal winners combined from the Rio Olympic Games. Timothy Mozgov, how do you sleep at night?
On his big
on
pillow
a bed of
filled
cash.
with cash.
On his big pillow filled with cash. I'm considering putting
Which, by the
up.
way, he named the hooker that he paid to be his pillow.
Did he? Okay. He
Yeah.
probably
And
calls his bed Rio. He calls his bank account Rio. No, I just wanted to share that with you guys to put that into perspective. every medal winner at the Olympics, every gold medal winner at the Olympics combined takes home less money than Timothy Mozgov, the 75th out of 76 ranked NBA centers, will take home this season.
Every silver and bronze medal winner combined makes $6 million less than Timothy Mozgov.
That's it.
Bravo.
All right, so I thought that was going to make us less depressed, but really I think it just brought the bleach closer to our mouths. So I think we're going to end it there. So this has been Riding the Pine. We just had the draft, so please check out our live stream of the draft in our video listings. It was a lot of fun, I'm sure. I'm talking in the future, sort of, but in the past
sucked,
to you.
Bro, can you believe that Dom took Blair Walsh in the 3rd round?
Wow, crazy. Anyways, and I'm gonna win. We will have some more RTP overtimes for you guys coming up, which will be a lot of fun. I think Lou wants to yell at me about Leonard Fournette, but I don't feel that passionate about it. So I'll figure out a way to make him let me, or I'll figure out a way to let him yell at me. So for John and Lou, I am Jake, and this has been Riding the Pine. And please don't kill yourself. We get to watch other teams this NFL season too.
Or do whatever, just keep your subscriber. I don't care.
You should auto-tune me. Lou, I love you.